Thanks for joining us. I'm Nancy Furness, and this is We've Got Issues. We're filming today at Coquitlam City Centre Library, and we'd like to thank the library for providing a space for us to carry out our interviews. I'd also like to acknowledge that our interviews are taking place on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of Quokitlam First Nation. So we thank the Quokitlam people who continue to live on the lands and to care for the lands and the waters and all that lies above and below. So today I'm joined by Jessie Yang and Daya Sudhakar, both from Port Moody Secondary School, and they're here to talk about a foundation that they've started called the Quokka and Me Foundation. So thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Quokka and Me Foundation and maybe about what inspired you to start it?
Yeah, sure. So we first started the Quokka and Me Foundation back in grade 10, so around 2 years ago, and it is a BC registered nonprofit foundation. And the reason I started this foundation was because growing up, I was involved in a lot of different extracurricular and outside of school activities, and I think that really put a big mental burden on me. So I noticed that a lot of kids in our community also face this burden, and this is often overlooked because a lot of adults and adolescent students, they have a lot more stresses. For example, adults have to face a lot of stresses in terms of managing their family responsibilities, their job, etc. And then adolescents have a lot of academic pressures. But we don't often consider that a lot of younger students have a lower mental tolerance, so they are really affected by this burden, and I think that we don't consider it enough.
Yeah, I think it's sort of an invisible, we always expect kids to be happy and carefree, but not thinking or considering, like you say, all those extra pressures that we don't think about, right?
Okay. Yeah, adding on to that, I completely agree. When my parents tell me about their childhood, they tell me that they come home from school, they finish their homework, and they go to play. And as a kid, I did that too. I came home, I did my homework, went out to play, but I also had all these extra classes to go to, which also did take a toll on the free time that I had. However, I think the way Jessie and I are talking about extracurriculars is making it sound like they're this thing that are only a burden on kids. However, I don't think that's the complete holistic way to look at it either. It's only through these extracurriculars that both Jessie and I are able to be a part of multiple small communities within our one big collective community as well. For example, I've been doing martial arts since I was in grade 7. And now I'm at a level where I can start teaching it. And so when I'm up on stage teaching these children, sometimes I can see that they're also stressed, which is really similar to the stresses that I went through as a kid. And through our nonprofit organization, we hope to alleviate that burden that they have, at least just a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. So you're saying that you both had a lot of extracurricular activities, but that you also recognize that although they can be very positive, they can also be a source of stress. So now you are teaching and you have that knowledge with you. So it's kind of a different perspective, and it's really good to have that knowledge and to be able to think that way as well. I think it's something that's overlooked sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like knowing that or understanding the emotions that they might be going through just makes me a better teacher, because I'm able to acknowledge the level of alertness they're at or the on-edge sensation that they might feel sometimes. So I can cater my teaching style for them, which makes me a better teacher, first off, and also a better learning experience for the kids as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, well done.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about, so Quokka and Me Foundation, what is a quokka and why did you choose the quokka as the symbol for your foundation?
So around 2 years ago, I was just doing research on a whim. I was kind of just bored one day. So I found out that quokkas are quote unquote the most happiest animals on earth. And I did a little bit more research on this, and I found out that the reason quokkas are considered the happiest animals on earth is not really because they're feeling an excess of joy or happiness, but actually because of their facial structure. They have this natural facial structure that makes them constantly look really smiley and happy. So for me personally, I think that smiling is the easiest and most contagious way to spread joy, just because it is something we do every day. If I see someone in the hallway at school, they smile at me, I always smile back. So I think that by having like children look at the Quokka symbol, they're able to kind of feel the joy that we want to spread to them.
Well, I think you're right. Smiles are free, smiles are contagious, and they're sort of a universal way of showing friendliness and openness and taking that guard down and sort of the first step to friendship. So, and quokkas are extremely cute.
I know.
I have to look it up, and they're adorable. So when you talk about this idea, how do you explain this idea to elementary school students? And can you talk a little bit about what their reactions might be?
First off, we'd like to thank the teachers and administrators who actually facilitate this activity for the kids at their own schools. Since unfortunately we don't have much understanding of the curriculum timetable or just the schedule of the students, we trust the teachers to put this in wherever they see fit, whenever the students need a break. And honestly, I don't think the students would complain about making cards over doing math per se. So
yeah, like when I was in elementary school, we had a lot of different arts and crafts activities planned in different subjects. For example, in science, we'd create like science models, with different experiments, and then we also create a lot of board games. So I think that arts and crafts is already like a big part of elementary school and middle school students' lives. So by using this creative outlet and actually creating impact and making and uplifting like the pediatric patients, I think that it's a really good way to engage with our community.
That's awesome. And you have some examples of cards here. Did you want to talk a little bit about what you've got there?
Yeah, so I think that it's really meaningful that the students put so much effort in designing these cards. There's a lot of like stickers, drawings, and just like a lot of extra touches that they put, which I think is really, really, really cute.
Yeah, and I read through some of the messages in these cards, and they're actually quite thought out and elaborate. So although they might not realize the impact they're having, them putting so much thought behind it leads me to believe that they might. And them knowing about what they're doing is just a great thing as well.
Well, it's an opportunity for kids, to learn too and to create that empathy and to, talk about some of these subjects. So these are going to pediatric patients, right?
Yes.
So they're lovely cards. And can you talk a little bit about how you collaborate with the hospital? Like, how do you get these cards from the schools into the hospitals?
So we reach out to these hospitals through like emails and Zoom calls, and we just hand off the cards to the hospital staff. But we don't consistently follow up with them to make sure that the cards reach the patients, because we understand that as a hospital worker and as a healthcare worker, they definitely have the patient's best interests at heart, and they know when it is appropriate to hand out these cards. So we don't necessarily tell them to like always hand out these cards in bulk to like every single patient at the pediatric ward. It's more so that they have these cards in their inventory, so that when they see a patient look kind of down or kind of sad, yeah, they have these cards and they're able to give it to them just to try to brighten their day.
Oh, that's lovely. And who knows, what kind of impact that has on somebody who's maybe feeling alone and not, feeling very happy about where they are. And then they get a card, and those are colorful, cheerful cards from somebody who cares. So I think it's a lovely idea. Starting a foundation like this, what are some of the challenges that you had in starting this? It's, and growing it as well.
So initially, when we first tried to start our Letters initiative, we tried to start it in kind of like a pen pal program where the elementary school student, they would kind of write a letter to the pediatric patient, and the pediatric patient would write a letter back to the same elementary school student that they received the letter from. Because when I was in elementary school, a lot of different schools had coordinated a program with my school where we would kind of have a buddy system and do a pen pal program with different schools, right? But when you're residing in hospital and you're a pediatric patient, they might miss out on this opportunity. So we try to create like a long-term connection between the patient and the student. But like after reaching out to some hospitals, we realized that this wouldn't comply with some of the hospital's policies and regulations.
Some privacy issues and things like that.
Yeah, during our outreach, one of the hospital representatives actually hopped on a Zoom call with us, and she really kindly explained that although there's a good intent behind it, because it's a two-way relationship, there's a high chance for a confidentiality or a privacy breach, which could cause legal complications for the student, the patient, and for us as well. So instead of trying to impose this initiative that we have with a good intent but with a high risk, we just catered our own initiative to make it a one-way relationship with low risk, and also it still brightens someone's day, so it has a similar effect.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you say, a win-win situation. Everybody learns something and benefits from this. So, and I love how you have the inventory of cards so that when somebody needs it, like, and the nurses are dealing with these children on a daily basis, so they know who needs a little bit of cheering up, I think.
Yeah, we really appreciate them. They're such a big part of this project, and without them, it genuinely wouldn't happen.
So do you know, are the children in there on a long-term basis, or you don't know anything about the children? That's all.
After reaching out to the hospital, we realized that's because most of them don't actually stay there long term, so we couldn't really facilitate this pen pal program also because of that reason, which is why we think that cards would be an easier way to kind of coordinate and send joy to short-term stay patients.
Okay, so now this sounds like a great initiative, and can you tell us a little bit about if a school wanted to become involved and become part of this program, what do they do? Can they
Yes.
contact you?
Yeah, of course. It's actually really simple. If any like schools or hospitals or like students or like parents want to like participate in the letters program, they simply just have to reach out to us at quokkaandme@gmail.com. We receive messages there and we respond pretty fast. So I think it's the most direct way to contact us.
Okay, that sounds pretty straightforward, I think. Can you tell us who's participating? Can you tell us which schools and which hospitals are part of this program right now?
Yes, of course. So currently we have partnered with the Royal Columbian Hospital as well as an elementary school called Hope Lutheran Christian School.
Okay, and are you hoping to expand the program?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, we've reached out to other hospitals as well, and we've also reached out to other local elementary schools in the ones that we know, the one that I went to and everything. So I feel like personal connection is always a good way to start. However, you should always be branching out just to have a greater impact.
Right, no. I think it sounds like this is a program that has lots of room to grow. And I wish you all the best in that. And I'm sure once people find out about it and schools find out about it, that they will want to be part of the program.
So,
And, you know, we think about these cards and kids get these cards and how it cheers them up. And we all know that that's really important for mental health. You've talked about how having the stress even of, you know, extracurricular activities and stuff might impact mental health on younger children. And I believe you have a contest coming up. Did you want to talk a little bit about what that contest is? It's related to mental health.
yes. So it's a little different from our letters program, obviously, just because it's a mental health speech competition where we're asking elementary schoolers to participate. There are 2 age categories with a assigned topic for each, and we're asking students to submit a 2-minute video of them speaking about their assigned topic. And since they're speaking about it, we're hoping that they reflect on their own experiences and what they've seen in their community. And through getting this information and really processing it before sending us their response, we're hoping that they truly connect with the mental health issue on a deeper level and understand it better, maybe. So they start noticing it in their community, and maybe one day they'll be making a change about it, like hopefully we are today. And sorry, just to add on to that, by getting their authentic responses as to what they think about mental health issues in their communities, we can better cater our initiatives and events to meet our first and primary goal, which is alleviating their mental burden.
Okay. So you talked about 2 categories. Can you talk about what age groups you're talking about? And also, what are the topics that you're asking them to speak on?
So the 2 age categories are grades 1 to 2, and their topic will be what is happiness. And the second age category is grades 3 to 5, and that topic is the importance of sleep. And we've kept the questions and the topics quite broad, just so we're giving the kids more room to really explore their own answer to it, rather than just a yes or a no and then an explanation.
Well, and I think, too, those topics are really good because everybody can write on them. Everybody has a thought on them. And it'll be really interesting to see the diversity of responses that you get. So, and again, how can schools contact you if they want to be part of that? Is that through the same?
Yes, it is through the same email, and they should just try to submit their video by around December. We kept the timeline pretty free just so the students actually have a time to be able to look around their community and reflect on what is important for them rather than submitting a rushed response.
sounds good. It's always good to have a little time to be able to reflect on these sorts of things. And interesting, so grades 1 and 2, that young, that you're getting involved with mental health. And
Yeah.
I think it's a good step for sure.
Just adding on to the longer timeline for the deadline. My logic behind this was that the more time students have to participate, the more students that will participate, and essentially that'll be more awareness spread about mental health and its importance throughout the younger generation as well.
I think that's a wonderful goal. And can you talk a little bit about maybe a little bit about what you've personally learned through doing this work? You're doing some really good work, but what have you learned?
That's a really good question. That made me reflect a lot, actually. As two grade 10s who started this nonprofit organization, we genuinely didn't really know what we were getting into. All we knew is that we had this common goal and that we wanted to do something about mental health in children's lives. So we started the organization, but very quickly after that, we realized that there's no one asking us to give back to the community or do something about children's mental health. So there was no one actively handing out opportunities for us to showcase what our cause truly was.
Right.
And so we realized that we needed to create our own opportunities in order to do so. And the main way we did that was through outreach.
Yeah, I learned that like everyone has their own goals, their own things they want to achieve in their lives, as well as a lot of responsibilities in their lives. So if we don't reach out personally to schools and recommend this program to them, this Letters Initiative, they will never know about it. So I think we really just learned the importance of staying consistent and being committed with our outreach. So when we first reached out to these different schools and hospitals, like we didn't always receive a response back or the response that we wanted to receive back, but we continued to reach out through these past 2 years. I think that's what made a difference.
Well, this is a wonderful story, and I would really like to thank you both, Jessie and Daya, for coming in today and sharing that with us. And I hope that we can keep in touch and learn more about the contest as it draws to a close, and maybe have another conversation then.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us here.
You're more than welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm Nancy Furness, and this is We've Got Issues, and we've just been learning all about the Quokka and Me Foundation.